I also think that another misconception that people have or may have about miscarriage is that it's like a one, experience. It just all of a sudden happens. For me, that was not the case. This whole the whole experience before I actually miscarried, it was like a 2 week experience, seeing different doctors, going through all these different tests and different things to try to get answers on if I was really actually going to miscarry or if it was just something that was like just a pregnancy that was just going slower or growing smaller, like at a smaller rate than what the doctors predicted or the textbook recommends, whatever. The thing that really didn't sit well with me, I was told by a nurse before I had any bleeding or anything. She literally told me, based off of HCG numbers, she literally said to me something to the effect of, I've seen this before. And then after she said that, she literally starts sending me miscarriage resources and what my options were. Mind you, no doctors had told me anything or even mentioned anything about a miscarriage based off any of the HCG labs that she was also looking at. So that was like very discouraging. And this was like weeks before the miscarriage process even started happening. So hearing that, being pregnant, I'm just like, why would she say something like that? Like, what is wrong? Like, I was just like, wow, I was so discouraged when she said that. And I was just like, no, you don't get to say what happens to my baby. I don't care what you're saying is abnormal or whatever. So that was like a part of the process that didn't really sit well with me. And the whole process was just a nightmare, to say the least. But I really truly feel like as I think back on the whole experience, I really do feel like the doctors failed me because the doctors were giving me so many different answers. And it was just like, I mean, at that point, all I could really do was trust in God. Literally. I mean, that's what we should be doing all the time as Christ followers. But literally, I had no other choice. No, even the doctors didn't have clear answers that they could give me. Some of them were saying that the pregnancy was abnormal. It was mainly that one nurse that was saying that. The other doctors were like, yeah, things are growing slowly, but they're still growing. So we can't give you an answer whether this is a healthy pregnancy or whether it's not a healthy pregnancy. Like, let's just keep going. We want to observe you more. We want to do more tests. We want to continue following you in the pregnancy. So that gave me hope. Those doctors that I seen that had that type of attitude and, were talking to me like that, gave me hope. And then, so in that, like how I told you guys, it was like a 2 week process for the whole miscarriage, like from the day I started bleeding to like the day they actually confirmed the miscarriage. So basically, like during that time, I was actually misdiagnosed by an emergency room doctor as having had a miscarriage. Okay, so he literally comes in the room, Miss So and so, I am so sorry to have to tell you that, you had a miscarriage or whatever. It's confirmed, your uterus is empty, whatever, the baby's not there. So, I mean, I was just froze in time when he walks into the room and tells me this. Like, words can't even explain what I felt. I don't, they just wouldn't do the experience justice. Trying to explain how I felt in words, and then I kept having, like, after this happened, a few days later, I kept having like really bad pain, and I just wasn't feeling good, right? So I went to another doctor to have them evaluate me. And they evaluated me, and then they were like, I told them what the other doctor had told me, when I was checking in and everything. And they did an ultrasound because they wanted to confirm that what the doctor said was true, and that, I had miscarried. And then they come in the room and they're like, so we just want to tell you that you did not miscarry. We still see the gestational sac. We still see everything. We're not really sure why the other doctor at the ER confirmed that you miscarried when we're still seeing everything in your uterus. So at that moment, I was just like in disbelief. I was literally like, what is happening to my life right now? What is happening to my body right now? What is going on? Right? So I'm just like going through this. And I mean, it almost feels like a dream-like state at that moment, because it's like a few days ago, I had a doctor tell me that my baby was gone. Today, you guys are telling me not only did my HCG go up since the last time I've been here, but my baby's still there. Who am I supposed to believe? What am I supposed to believe at that point? I mean, the only thing that was true at that moment is God is faithful. That's literally the only thing that was true in the moment. Everything else was up in the air. And I kept getting answers like that until one night I was sitting at an event at church. So they followed me, and they were just like, okay, just continue to follow up with us. We'll, continue checking in with your HCG and everything like that. And at this point I was still like bleeding. So I was just like, oh my gosh. So I'm like I bled with my daughter when I was pregnant. So I was kind of just like, okay, maybe it's just like one of those things again, So I was still bleeding. And then one night I'm sitting at church, maybe, I don't know, a week or so after they told me that I did not have a miscarriage. And I just started feeling very outside myself. Like I started feeling like sweaty and just hot and just like very nauseous and just out of it. And I went to the bathroom, and I was just not doing well. I don't want to go into like super detail on what happened. But basically I went back to my husband and I said, I think you need to take me back to the hospital. Like something's wrong. Something's not right. And I remember my husband and my kiddos, my husband drove me to the hospital. The hospital is not far from the church, a few minutes, maybe 7 minutes, 5 minutes. So my husband took me to the hospital that night, and it's crazy. I remember the day of the week. It was a Tuesday. I remember the date also. It was September 30th. And I remember going there, and the doctors ran more tests and did everything. And they did an ultrasound, and they actually confirmed that I did miscarry. So I was very hesitant, as you probably imagine. I was very hesitant to believe the doctors because, again, just a few weeks before this, I had been misdiagnosed. But I think at this point, deep down, I knew I had miscarried. Like, just my body and all the bleeding and all the pain and different stuff I saw leaving my body. Like, I knew that they were right. And not only that, I think they had also told me that my HCG had took a dive from the day before. So I knew they had to be telling the truth. this time. I mean, even though these were other doctors, yeah, I knew, they were telling the truth, and I knew that I had lost the baby. I remember my husband coming back to get me from the ER the day they confirmed the miscarriage, and I remember just feeling just so defeated, just so emotionally just blah, I don't know, just like empty. Like, you don't know how to feel. You feel everything and nothing at the same time. Is that even possible? Like, you're just like, I don't know, like in disbelief. Like, you feel like your body, I felt like my body had betrayed me. Like, my body failed to do something that God created my body to be able to do. And for me, that was like, I don't know, like trying to wrap my mind around that. I don't know. I just felt like I had so many questions and so much that I didn't understand. I do not blame God in any way, shape, or form. I trust and I know that God knows better than I do. Have I questioned God through this process? Like, why, God? Why did you give me 2 other beautiful babies that made it, but you gave me one that didn't make it? So, I mean, yes, I get in those moments and in those waves of grief, I get where I'm like asking questions like, why, God? Like, I don't understand, and I think that's just my mind trying to make sense of such a traumatic event that was just physically painful, emotionally draining, like just a nightmare. That's the best way I can describe it. It was a complete nightmare. And just, I think the emotional aspect of miscarriage, is just, I think, something people have a hard time wrapping their mind around, because people don't get it. They're like, oh, I've heard nobody said this to me, but like, this other woman that I had spoken with about it, she also experienced miscarriage and was told at least they passed away before they got here. Like, what? Like, a life is a life, life begins at conception. And, it doesn't matter how far along you are or whatever. A life is a life. A loss is a loss, especially for women that have experienced miscarriage. Like, and I think it's wrong and it's very toxic for people to discount and say things like that to women who are or have experienced miscarriage. I think this is a very, I don't even know if I could say the word controversial, because people have all these different beliefs like, oh, if you're this many weeks or this many weeks, then it doesn't matter. Like I said, a life is a life, and that's why, like, I'm not giving like super in-depth detail about my experience, because I don't feel like that's necessary for me to be able to share my story. It's a loss. I'm hurt. I've been confused. It's days where it weighs heavy on me. It's a real thing, and I want people to know that are experiencing this. You are not crazy. You are not overreacting, or a loss is a loss. You lost your baby. That is a big deal. That is painful. That is hurtful. I think for me, the most hurtful thing was, like, when I had found out I was pregnant, I planned my life around the baby. I planned my life around the baby, like how things were gonna look. Like, I started buying baby stuff, like everything as time went on, because I was pregnant. So what else do you do when you're pregnant? You plan to have a baby, right? So that's exactly what I did. And I think that just being, like, played with, because I felt like the doctors in this situation failed me, telling me, oh, we're not sure. Oh, the nurse, like, yes, it's an abnormal pregnancy, you're gonna for sure miscarry. And then the doctor saying, oh, we actually can't give you that information, we actually don't know, everything's just up in the air, let's just follow you and see what happens. I mean, emotionally, that was just like the most hurtful thing, because it's like, I'm hopeful. I mean, I felt like throughout it I was hopeful because I believe in God. I stand on my faith in Jesus Christ. I know that his way is better than mine. I know that his plan is better than mine, and I can stand on that. But even with the hope I had, I am still human, and I still get scared. I have fear, anxiety. I still was having all that. So, I mean, because I'm constantly was being told all this different stuff, and I even prayed about it. I'm like, God, breathe life into this baby. If it's your will, let your will be done, God. And that is a hard prayer to pray, because you're like, but what if God's will's not my will? God's will is usually never our will, because God is up here and we don't even understand. Like, we can't even comprehend where God is coming from. We can't comprehend God's logic. His ways are literally higher than our ways. His thoughts, I mean, we just don't understand as humans. And I mean, we want to understand these things, but the truth of the matter is we just don't. And I mean, just going through miscarriage in general, it can be a very lonely place. It can be very isolating. And I feel like the enemy could use something like that to taint your marriage, taint your friendships, taint your image of yourself and your body and what God created you to do as a woman, or what God gave you the ability to do as a woman. So, I mean,